I guess on the first episode, I said, my cars are going to shape the world.
Taken from everything. I'm not happy with all my mistakes.
And put it in my own hands. Had work clothes on and I went to work and built some cars that no one's ever seen before. Chad Hiltz became a familiar name through the Discovery Channel series Bad Chad Customs. Each episode showcased his creativity for building custom cars from discarded materials and the team behind him that made it possible. However, in recent years, many have wondered what happened to the man behind the show. From burnout and heartbreak to major changes in his shop and crew, the road ahead wasn't easy. Join us as we explore what really happened to Chad Hiltz. It's my fault. But in the end, it's my fault because it probably did wrong. But you shouldn't be picking at me. Don't pick at anybody. Don't bother anybody. You get picking at somebody. You know what happens? You get picking at a dog, it'll bite you. Bad Chad Customs was an instant hit from the very moment it premiered on TV. The show pulled viewers into Chad's world, a mix of wild creativity and pure grit, where scrap metal, coat hangers, and spare parts were transformed into the cars he saw in his mind. The cast of the series featured a small, close team, which included Chad, his fiancée Jolene, his son Colton, and friends from their local community. Their shop in Canning, Nova Scotia, was the venue for each build. What made the show stand out from other similar shows wasn't only the cars, but the teamwork, humor, and persistence that came from doing more with less. At first, the formula worked well. Viewers loved how real the show felt. A small crew building custom cars without big budgets or fancy sponsors, but behind the cameras, the pace was non-stop. Discovery's schedule called for back-to-back builds, strict deadlines, and dramatic reveals that didn't always line up with Chad's creative flow. Delays began to add up. A few projects ran longer than planned and ended up costing more than the team expected. Then the global pandemic added new obstacles. They had to deal with limited supplies, smaller crews, and strict safety rules that slowed everything down. Ratings stayed steady, but never reached breakout levels. As Discovery shifted focus to higher-profile car shows, Bad Chad Customs became harder to justify financially. The mix of production strain, budget limits, and creative tension quietly signaled that the show would not continue for a third season. There was never an announcement saying it was over. After Season 2 wrapped in August 2020, the show just stopped. No promos, no trailers, nothing. Fans kept refreshing their feeds, hoping for some kind of update, but weeks turned into months, and it never returned. The show had brought him recognition and a wider audience, but it also reminded him of something simple. His real satisfaction came from creating, not performing. Still, before the cancellation, Chad faced his share of creative bumps, too. Like the time naming one of his builds nearly landed him in hot water. In 2020, while Bad Chad Customs was still building its audience, Chad Hiltz faced a challenge that had nothing to do with metal or engines. His standout build, the bright green Sharp Grin Green Goblin, had become a symbol of his creativity and drive. But it also caught the eye of Marvel Comics, the company that held the rights to the Green Goblin name. The issue started quietly. Not long after the first season hit TV, a letter showed up, a cease and desist, telling Chad to stop using the name in any business or promo work. It was a routine legal move for a corporation like Marvel, but for a small town shop like Hiltz Auto Company, it was a big setback. The Green Goblin name was just part of a build, it had become a big part of his brand. Instead of fighting a long legal battle, Chad decided to move on. By mid-2020, anything that carried the old name, from shop signs to merchandise and social media, had been switched over to Hiltz Autoco. The decision made sense, but it didn't come easy. New branding, updated inventory, and adjustments to sponsorship deals all added extra costs along the way. When asked about the issue later, Chad kept his answer brief. He explained that it was simply business, that holding a grudge over a name never made sense, and that people came for the cars, not the labels. His reaction was measured and calm, the kind that showed he'd rather adjust than make noise about it. The timing, though, couldn't have been tougher. The pandemic had already started shutting things down. Production slowed, travel halted, and filming under the new rules became almost impossible. Sponsors pulled back, and Discovery Channel began reshuffling its entire lineup. The trademark issue added one more thing to an already stressful year. By the end of 2020, fans had started seeing the new name on everything Chad posted. Some didn't understand it at first, but most fans stood behind him, impressed by how calmly he handled the shift. It felt like another moment that showed his steady resilience, adapting without ever losing the spark that set him apart. Nonetheless, signs of exhaustion had already begun showing behind the scenes. When Bad Chad Customs became very popular on TV, Chad went from quietly hammering away in a small Nova Scotia shop to being recognized all over North America. Fans were amazed by how he could take scrap metal and turn it into something extraordinary. A Bugatti-style car built from scraps, fenders made from license plates, all pure imagination and hustle. But with fame came something he didn't expect: public judgment. Online chatter about the show often turned personal. Some builders questioned his methods, saying his quick builds skipped steps, while others accused the show of being staged. At first, Chad didn't think much of it. He figured the noise would fade, the way it usually does online. But the more attention the show got, the more some viewers and industry people seemed to pour in their opinions. Suddenly, it felt like everyone had an opinion about him. His builds, his attitude, and even the mess in his shop. He's also learned to see criticism for what it really is: just noise. Not every opinion needed to be answered, and not everyone watching understood what went into his work. But even tougher days were waiting off camera. Behind the scenes, Chad's fiancée and business partner, Jolene McIntyre, was going through one of the hardest years of her life. In late 2024, her mother, Jackie McIntyre, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The diagnosis was surprising and unexpected for the family. Tragically, just 5 weeks later, she passed away at 61. For Jolene, who had long been the organizational backbone of Hiltz Auto Company, the loss of her mom was devastating. Jolene's role had always been to handle business operations like managing the books, sponsorships, and logistics. Chad, on the other hand, just focused on the builds. But after her mother's death, grief made it difficult to continue with the same pace they ran the business. So, in early 2025, she and Chad quietly decided to slow things down. They restructured the business, delegated more daily operations to their small team. This allowed them to take some time off to process everything privately. It wasn't an easy adjustment, but it allowed both of them to recover emotionally and mentally from the loss and also the non-stop grind and schedule they had been maintaining for years. Around that time, fans started noticing a change. The uploads on their YouTube channel slowed down and the couple wasn't showing up in public as much. With no explanation, people began guessing that maybe the shop had shut down for good. However, that wasn't the case. Chad and Jolene were still building, just taking things slower than before. It reshapes us quietly, deeply, and often without warning. Their decision to pause wasn't about decline. It was about prioritizing health and stability over visibility. Yet, the quiet period gave rise to another wave of speculation that soon spread far beyond their small Nova Scotia community. By the middle of 2025, their YouTube uploads had nearly stopped, and that silence got people talking. The channel had always been lively with shop updates, behind-the-scenes work, and travel clips. So, the break-in activity felt unusual. Longtime fans from the Bad Chad Customs days began tossing around breakup rumors on car forums and social media. A few even claimed Jolene had left the shop or moved away altogether. Others went further, suggesting the couple had split entirely. Nonetheless, by September 2025, they would return with a video titled, "We're Back After Going MIA for 2 weeks." In the video, Chad appeared in good spirits, introducing new projects and thanking fans for their patience. Jolene was beside him managing filming and updates as before. The clip was casual and familiar, showing the same humor and teamwork that fans remembered from the early show days. They didn't say much about the rumors, but once folks saw them together again, the talk faded on its own. Not long after, they got back to posting and their videos were pulling in tens of thousands of views, just like old times. As of October 2025, Chad and Jolene are still engaged in running Hiltz Autoco side by side. That short break, they've said, helped them realize how much balance matters between the attention, the business, and their own peace of mind. Away from the spotlight, another relationship in Chad's life was also slowly ending. After the show ended, the Bad Chad YouTube channel kept fans connected to the action. That's where Doug and Nate came in. Regulars on the channel who helped with welding, bodywork, and day-to-day shop projects, turning Chad's offbeat ideas into real builds. It had that small-town feel, just a few locals in a garage figuring things out as they went. However, by the end of 2024, people began to notice that Doug and Nate were no longer appearing in the videos. Comments started piling up on Facebook and YouTube asking, "Where are Doug and Nate?" No one had said they'd quit. There wasn't any goodbye video or on-screen drama. They just stopped showing up. Before long, people started talking. Some fans said the two had left after money issues or not getting enough credit for what they did. Others hinted at frustration over royalties from videos they'd appeared in. None of it was ever confirmed, and Chad never addressed it directly. What is clear is that by late 2024, Doug and Nate had both moved on. Their last appearances came in a handful of summer videos that hinted at changes in the shop. By that fall, fans had already started to wonder what had happened. Some thought it came down to long hours or just plain burnout after years of filming. Whatever the reason, no one ever gave a clear answer. For Chad, losing them meant more than just two sets of hands. Doug had been a steady presence behind the torch. Nate, known for his patience and detail, handled delicate radiator work and fine welding. Their departure forced Chad to take on more work, thereby reshaping Feshup's rhythm. Meanwhile, amid all those shifts, another thing brought new life to the shop. Colton grew up surrounded by his father's work, the cars, the tools, and the steady noise of the shop, but as he got older, he decided to step back for a while and find his own path. However, when Chad started recording videos for his YouTube channel, Colton returned. Working together in the shop again helped Chad rebuild his fatherly bond with Colton, which had stretched thin during the time he spent filming Bad Chad Customs. Then, in June 2025, Colton entered a regional motorcycle competition and won the Fan Favorite Award. It wasn't just another trophy. It marked the moment he began standing out as a builder in his own right. Chad shared the win online. At Hiltz Auto Company, Colton gradually took on more responsibility, helping with fabrication and assisting with major builds for upcoming shows. Fans noticed his growing confidence right away. Many said watching the two work together felt like seeing things come full circle. For Chad, it was a chance to make up for the time he'd lost when life was harder and work took priority. Having Colton back in the shop brought a sense of calm he hadn't felt in a long time, a quiet reminder of why he fell in love with building in the first place. Working together added fresh energy to Hiltz Auto Company. It didn't feel like just a job anymore. It felt like home again. A family effort powered by the same creativity that once put Chad's name on the map. When Bad Chad Customs ended, most builders would have packed it in or gone quiet for a while. But Chad didn't stop. He just switched lanes. With non-network deadlines and no producers calling the shots, he turned to something he could fully control, his own camera and his own audience. YouTube became his new workshop window. What began as simple, unpolished clips off day-to-day builds slowly grew into one of the most watched custom car channels online. By 2025, Bad Chad had drawn more than 200 million views and built a community of over 389,000 subscribers. Each evening, thousands tuned in at 6:00 to watch Chad and Jolene work, laugh, and improvise exactly the way they always had, only now without the TV filter. Ad revenue from the videos turned steady enough to fund new projects and upgrades to the shop, including a full 60 by 100-foot expansion built almost entirely from those earnings. Fans also supported them through merchandise. Shirts, hoodies, and hats that carried the Bad Chad logo. Together, YouTube and merchandise sales became their main income, far outpacing what the Discovery show had ever paid. Some reports put their total earnings around $2 million since 2016. Most of it reinvested straight back into the shop. Through it all, Chad kept his approach the same. Stay creative, stay independent, and keep things real. As he told fans, although they're not rich, they get to wake up and do this every day. And that's enough. With a loyal following, a thriving online presence, and a steady stream of projects, Chad had managed something rare.